And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Carnivore Evolution podcast. Faith, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
No problem at all. No problem at all. You're only across the pond from me. You're only in England at the moment, are you?
No, I'm in Portugal.
Oh, you're in Portugal. Right. Are you living there long?
I have lived here off grid in central Portugal for 8 years.
Wow. I bet you the weather over there is real nice at the moment, is it?
No, not really, but that's
Really?
fine because our summers are insanely hot and insanely long. So
Yeah.
when the rains start, everyone is very grateful.
Yeah. One country that I'd love to go to is Portugal. I've been to Spain, but I've never been to Portugal yet.
It's a really beautiful place to be,
Really?
especially away from the cities.
And what made you move out of England and go to Portugal?
To be able to live off grid, to be able to have animals
Yeah.
and live a bit more of a freer life and, not the
Mm.
insanity of the UK.
Yeah. Things are a bit hectic over there at the moment, aren't they?
They are indeed, yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk everything carnivore shortly, but give me some backstory about you first.
So I call it plant-based for over 30 years because it varied over those years of how intensely I was plant-based and how I wasn't. So I started off as pescatarian when I was 9, because my friends who were a little bit older became pescatarian as well. And my mum allowed it thinking it was a phase. But I quickly became vegetarian and then a few years later, vegan, then raw vegan. And at one point, I was considering breatharian and fruitarian. And, I just kept doubling down because I just kept feeling worse. And I was like, I'll do more. I'll cut out more. I'll save the planet more. I'll save myself more. I believed all the propaganda I completely believed it all. I thought I was a horrendous human being for ever having eaten meat or, worn leather or anything like that. I totally believed it all. So over the years, as I said, that was well over 30 years of that. I became I was unwell. I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I had IBS, a few things like that, which I actually recovered from. But when I started adding in a few more animal foods again, so not meat or anything, because I was never ever going to possibly consume meat again, but a bit of fish here and there, some eggs here and there, and I became well, and I was doing okay for, I don't know, about 13 years or something, doing quite well. I was, pretty strong. I'd moved over here, had a farm, that kind of thing. But just over 4 years ago, I started to collapse quite dramatically in supermarkets and things like that. And they rushed me through lots of tests at the hospital, and they found that I had two heart conditions, severely underactive thyroid, an autoimmune condition, Hashimoto's, thyroid nodules, and I think that was it at that time. And I was I was I was in shock. I was in shock because I felt so bad, but I was in shock because I was like, I am like the healthiest person there is
Yeah.
around. I'm eating all the superfoods, I have all the supplements, I ship things in from all over the world. I'm doing all the nervous system stuff, the circadian rhythm stuff. I'm doing it all. How on earth has this happened? And so many issues, and the hospital were like, we're just going to medicate you and eventually we'll have to do operations and things, and it's just going to progressively get worse, and that's your lot. And I was like, no. No. I mean, I stay away from any kind of meds, and I have done for a lot of years, and I'm not just going to wait to get worse. I'm in my 40s. That's just, just dying basically, and feeling truly horrendous by this point as well, still fainting all the time, still feeling like no energy and muscle pain, and just really, really awful. So I went home and I started researching, and it kept coming back round to animal fats and proteins, and vegetables are killing you. And I was like, don't be ridiculous. How can vegetables be killing us? And, I'd heard in the past about oxalates and stuff, and I was like, what nonsense. And I really was like fighting it. But everything I researched, I was looking into certain people that recover from autoimmunity, or recover from heart stuff, or recover from thyroid stuff. And the ones that were actually recovering, not just managing symptoms, all seemed to have moved to more of an ancestral way of eating and living in general. And I kind of ticked most of the boxes for the living bit, but obviously not the ones for the eating bit. So after giving myself a hard time for quite a while, I decided one day I was going all in. I was going to see if this worked. So I ate raw beef liver, and I did that for a while because I figured, if I'm going to do this after all these years of not eating meat, I'm going to get something that's really nutrient dense, that's really going to make a difference, and I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to stick it straight in and then see what happens. And I started to notice, not like a massive difference, but I started to notice a difference quite quickly. And I was like, okay. So then I started adding in a few more things, and a little bit more regularly, and dealing with my headspace that, I'd made myself feel really guilty, and was shaming myself, for eating meat after all that time. So I had a word or 10 with myself about that, and there was no point in triggering my nervous system and not uptaking the nutrients. If I was going to eat these animals, then I was going to make the most of it. So after a few months, I started to notice a big difference. The fainting had stopped, the dizziness had stopped. There were differences across the board, and this continued to get better. And I was still eating everything else. I was still eating the superfoods, and I was still eating the carbs and things like that. But there was definitely a difference happening. My body was stronger. I was able to do more again. And as I realized that the propaganda about being veggie and vegan was a whole load of rubbish, basically, it all started to make sense, of why we're being told to be vegans and plant-based and things, and how we're actually stronger if we eat more animal-based. So slowly but surely I started cutting things out, and eating more and more animal-based. And then the oxalates were the last thing that I cut out, and that's when things really started to shift. And yeah, I have since, and maybe this is another little part of our call. I did go through a lot of oxalate dumping and things like that, and I had quite a few problems with the transition that a lot of people do, but I knew it was just my body transitioning to being animal-based again, and it wasn't because of eating animals, so I knew that wasn't true. And I think that's a problem with some people that do transition, is they feel that they're still being bad, and bad to themselves and bad to the animals and things like that. But I knew that wasn't the case. But yeah, when I cut out the oxalates and I cut out the carbohydrates, that's when, things really shifted. And not only have I recovered now from every single thing on that list. Not one of those things is there now in blood tests or in how I feel or anything. The heart conditions, the autoimmunity, everything, it's all gone. Is that my body is repairing things that I didn't even think were possible. You know, injuries from when I was a teenager have gone. Cysts that I've had for decades have gone. You know, it's mental, and that is continuing to happen over these last 4 years or so since I've moved to animal base, and I'm just amazed. I'm truly amazed by the whole thing. So, yeah, that's it.
No, it's incredible. It really is. But tell me this much: was it an easy transition? Because I can only imagine being vegan for such a long time and then picking up a piece of meat. I can only imagine that might have been tough for you. So talk me through that transition. I think she's after freezing on us, is she?
It seems that way to me too.
Let's say she's coming back now. Hopefully she comes back now any second now. Hopefully. Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yes, it's quite a story. I'd like to hear the rest of it.
Yeah. Hopefully she's able to come back on. Hang on a second.
Oh dear, she's gone.
So hopefully she can log back in. I'll just send her a message and tell her to come back in.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Okay.
We can just cut this part out when she comes back in. I had this situation with that Indian guy yesterday.
No problem at all.
We had to go for a full second session.
Yeah, she's just getting ready now. Her internet is down.
Oh dear.
She's come back on now any second now.
Okay, so we have Jenny at the next hour.
Yes, Jenny will be on now shortly. So what we'll
Okay.
do is on this one here, do you want to cancel this part, or will you be able to take this out during
I'll
the
just
live
take it
recording?
right out. I'll cut it right
Perfect.
out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it the way it is then. Yeah, so you have Jenny now in the next the next hour and a half.
Okay, very good. Excited about that one too. We get.
Perfect. Okay.
Watch down. Oh, look at this mess upside down.
Yeah, it was a good introduction from her. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time. This internet.
When I first came on, I don't think she could hear me because I spoke to her and she just did not react at all, like nothing happened.
I'll just keep an eye on the messages, just to make sure she's okay.
So I wonder if that was indicative because what happened to me with Chris Medina and with BNS was first people couldn't hear me and then cut out.
Yeah.
It was a progression of events.
Okay.
Oh, did you see where I found some of those clips, the reels in Riverside on the PC, in Windows
I
PC, but
did.
not,
Yeah, I seen it. Yeah,
not in the
yeah, I seen it.
mobile. There's
Yeah.
nothing in mobile.
I know. I seen it.
That's
Yeah, I seen it.
that's BS because they're supposed to provide it. Plus, I pay for a subscription. What the hell?
Yeah, and what did they get back to you?
No, not yet. Not in 2-3 days. But
I'm not surprised. There you are, Faith. Sorry, what happened there?
The solar power just went.
No problem at all. These things happen. No problem at all.
Life on the farm.
So we were just you were just finishing. You were telling us your story. I was just asking the question: was it an easy transition? Because I can only imagine being vegan for such a long time and then eventually eating meat. Talk me through that process.
No, it was not an easy transition. As I said earlier, it took a lot of soul searching and, going round and round in circles with it. And I did make myself feel quite bad for the first few weeks of doing it. But as I said, then I realized, the meat is almost being wasted then, if I'm dysregulating my nervous system enough that I'm not uptaking the nutrients from this food, then it's pointless. But I'd also, as I mentioned, realised that all the propaganda that we're being told about it being bad for the planet, and bad for us, and bad for everything was also complete rubbish. So when you start to realise that, you're like, well, yes, an animal has died for me to eat it, but it's not destroying the planet. It's not the cow farts are not destroying the planet.
No.
yes, thank you. Yes, that's true. It's only a tiny percentage compared to industry, which is destroying the planet.
And it's actually really, really good for our health. We're being told animal fat's bad, cholesterol's bad, all this sort of thing, and it's complete nonsense. It's the opposite, in fact. And the more deeper down this rabbit hole I went, the more I realized, I'm already quite a bit of a conspiracy theorist anyway. So this wasn't a big stretch, I guess, in that respect. But I just realized they're actually trying to make us weaker by pushing this plant-based agenda. And it was working. I wasn't a junk food vegan. I was eating huge amounts of superfoods and supplements and doing all the right stuff, and I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker as the years went on.
I think that's the most important part, because I think all three of us can pretty much agree the same thing. Like, I came from a background as well where I've been in the fitness industry over 30 years, and I was convinced that I was eating healthy. Convinced.
Yeah.
I was eating the plants, I was eating the fruits, I was eating the complex carbohydrates, I was eating a lot of good proteins. I never came from a background of eating processed food, ever. If anything, I didn't really like it. And if I had processed food, it's probably once every 2 weeks. So I never ate a lot of processed food. I was absolutely convinced my diet was absolutely the cleanest diet in the world. And then when we look at the word diet and define what's actually healthy, we have the Mediterranean diet, we have the plant-based diet, we have all these amazing diets out there. But I always ask the same question: how come none of these diets are having the impact of what carnivore is doing at the moment? How come there's so many people in the world, like yourself, Faith, that are coming on these podcasts and you're saying not only were you a vegan, but it's how it's actually transformed your life. You've improved your health. You know what I mean? There's no other diet that's doing this. I haven't heard this. I'm pretty sure you haven't either, Victoria. It's insane.
It's so different and so important and significant. Yeah.
And we've been doing this podcast now for just over a year. We must have interviewed well over 100 people at this stage. And I've interviewed at least 50 at this stage where they were vegans and they transferred to carnivore. And every single one of them have said the exact same. They would never transform because they didn't want to kill the animals. And I think we want to make this perfectly clear that all three of us, we love animals. Like, I have a dog. You know what I mean? I grew up around animals. But if you're saying to me, if I'm on an island and I'm trapped on an island, you're telling me that I'm going to be eating plants for the rest of my life? No. You know what I mean? What's going to keep us going for a very, very long time is eating food that's essential to our diets. It's going to keep us. That's what it boils down to here. I mean, there's no life without death. I know these people don't understand this, so it's amazing having you on, Faith, because I try and explain this to people, these vegans, and then I'm always saying to them when they're talking about living animals, is a plant not a living organ? Where does the
Yes.
plant come? Where does the plant come from? So you're pulling it out of the ground, and you're telling me that there's nothing wrong with that. So talk me through that point, Faith.
What do you mean at that point?
Like when people are talking about like animals in general, we should be looking after them. We shouldn't be killing them.
Yeah.
What would you say to these people?
Yes, I mean that would be lovely, but we've tried that. That is the whole plant-based way of living, and what I see is that most people last about 10 years before they start getting serious health ailments, not just a few things like autoimmunity and, heart conditions and things like that. Some manage 15 or 20 years at a push. I think I lasted longer because of the amount of supplements and superfoods I was pushing down my throat. But we have been trying that. We've all been trying that. We've all felt bad. We've all believed that, this is bad for the environment. This is bad for us. This is bad for the animals. And industrial farming of anything is bad, but that includes industrial farming of beans, and lettuce. And in fact, they've proven that even more animals die in those sorts of ways of farming than a cow. A cow would feed, a family for a year or more. One cow, so it's a big difference. And it is destroying the planet, us to, just ploughing field after field to grow soya. That is destroying our topsoil. They've proven this, and animals regenerate it. So it's not nice to have to kill something, but that's why it's important that we do it in the right way. That we do support farmers and support the people that are trying to do it the right way and are not kind of industrially farming things. I have my own animals for that reason, because I want to eat meat and I want to eat good quality and I don't want the animals to suffer unnecessarily. That's why I got my own animals. I know not everyone's able to do that, but we all, even in a city, it's only an hour till you're out of the city at the max usually, and then you're in the countryside and there are farmers that will sell directly to you, sell you eggs, sell you meat, dairy, whatever it is. There are ways around not torturing ourselves about how we feel the animals might be being tortured.
What animals do you raise for food?
I have chickens, but that's mainly for the eggs. I have sheep for the meat. I hope to have cows soon. That's a work in progress.
For dairy or for beef or both?
For the beef, for the cows. The sheep are for the dairy and the meat.
Oh, nice.
And I've had goats as well for the meat, but they're challenging to have. Goats are. Sheep are much easier. So.
And talk me to and Faith, was it always an autoimmune issue that you had? Was it a weight issue? Like, what was the main issue why you wanted to look after your health in the first place? The reason why you went plant-based or why you looked after your diet? What was the reason in the first place?
That was initially just digestive issues and depression. I had a lot of depression from a young age. Now I understand why, because I was consuming huge amounts of soya, going through puberty and things like that. So I had a lot of digestive problems. I had really severe IBS from, late teens onwards, and lots of food intolerances, and so I quickly kind of started going down this kind of the health rabbit holes. And yeah, everyone back then, was saying, eat less meat, eat more plant-based, beans, pulses, fiber, juices eventually when that all became the craze. And I believed it all.
And when you were suffering with the IBS, were you been diagnosed with this? Were you been looked after by doctors? Was this the information that you were given? Were they actually pushing you to do plant-based?
They were saying, fiber and vegetables and things like that. They don't talk much about diet, even if you're going for digestive problems. I found it was never high on the list of things that we chatted about, more like medications that you should be on or could try or take. And just, if that makes you feel bad, just cut that out then. But, the things I cut out was, the list got longer and longer and longer. And in the end, there was over 50 things that I wasn't eating, that I was apparently intolerant to. And I was like, this is mental. I'm like, by that point, I'm in my early 20s and I could hardly eat anything without feeling really, truly terrible. So yeah, it was.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like when you're talking about IBS and people are suffering with their gut issues, we're gonna magically fix it by adding more fiber to your diet, and it's actually gonna make the situation even worse. It's
just insanity.
It's crazy. It's just unbelievable. It really is. The information that we've been told about gut health is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And a question, Faith, what mental health improvements have you seen? I certainly have experienced a lot, gone from anxiety and depression. What mental health improvements have you experienced on carnivore?
Well, to be honest, my mental health was quite good by the time I switched to moving into animal based. I'd done a lot of work over the years, and I had, as I said earlier, I had started including fish again, and I think that had made a big difference, having oily fish and eggs. And I'd done that probably about 10 years before. So my mental health is pretty good because of all the nervous system work and things like that, and because I live outside most of the time. So what I've noticed since moving to animal based though is that my brain is starting to fire a bit more. I was pretty intelligent when I was young, and as I got older, I've felt thicker and thicker as the years have gone on, and I just put it down to aging, or because I partied hard when I was a kid, or all of these other things. And it never even dawned on me that it could be something to do with being plant-based. And it wasn't until I started this animal-based thing and I was like, well, I wasn't really having any fats. When I was raw vegan, I was eating a lot of coconut oil, and maybe that also saved me for a few more years. But other than that, I was hardly eating any fat at all for all that time. And again, loads of soya, which it does funny things to our brain. And
it's estrogenic too.
Yeah. And I've noticed, and it's improving over these last 4 years, is that my brain it just feels a bit quicker and a bit more switched on, and it's not like it's aging anymore. In fact, it's like it's doing the opposite. It's de-aging, or whatever the correct way of putting that is.
Well, that sounds good.
And I notice that in my clients as well. That's one of the things, because I work with people with chronic fatigue syndrome, because I had that. And that's one of the things they say early on with then usually just adding in a bit of fat here and there to start with, because everyone's afraid of it. And very early on, they all say, my brain feels more like it's lighting up.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
I'm the same. Like, I'm always saying this to men in the change rooms. I'm always saying to people, like, listen, because they're always asking me for advice because they're going through the mill, like, with mental health, and I'm like, listen, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just going to give you advice, and I'm like, just change your diet. And I know even before they even speak to me, because I know I'm going to get the information I'm going to get. They're going to say to me they're eating healthy, but I'm always saying to them, like, listen, what you feed the body impacts the brain. It really is that simple. So you're coming in with all these pre-workouts, these BCAAs, and I'm pretty sure you're eating a standard diet where you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you're eating a lot of vegetables, but it's having an effect on your body. And if you're feeling down, that's where you should be starting from. You should be like, the one thing you should always have control over is what you put in your body.
Yeah.
All the external stuff that goes on in your personal life, okay, that will affect your mental health, but you should start with the foundation. What are you actually feeding yourself? So when we go back to what we're talking about, the healthy diet, and you talk to me what you're actually eating, most people will say to me, well, I'm having the oats in the morning, I'm having my blueberries in the morning. That's what everybody's breakfast
Yeah.
is at the moment, pretty much. So can't get any healthier than that, apparently. And then they're having the salads, they're having the vegetables, and it's like, well, surely if all this is working, you shouldn't be coming into the gym feeling unhappy about yourself. And then why are you on this list of supplements? Why do you feel like you need to be on this list of supplements? So when you say you're healthy, are you really, really healthy? Think about this for a second. And it's just a slight change. They go back. Some of them take on the advice. They'll eliminate the vegetables. They eliminate the carbohydrates for a while. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I actually feel really, really good. And the one thing I took out of this, I've always said it, that when I turned carnivore 5 years ago, was the brain fog. It was gone within days. I was able to think better. I was able to wake up. I was more mentally alert. I couldn't wait to get my day started. It was just like a different energy. Like, whereas before, I would have struggled to get up out of bed. Like, really, really struggled. I had a mental health issue as well. For years, I suffered with my depression many, many times, couldn't figure it out. And as I said earlier, I've been in the industry now for over a long, long time. And I was convinced I should be able to work this out. You know, that way. And then when people are coming to me and saying, like, listen, I'm coming to you because I want to lose weight. I used to get these people in shape, but then they used to get really, really depressed. They were on antidepressants and I hadn't got a clue. Hadn't got a clue how to handle this situation. I was like, okay, I'm only trained here to get you in shape. I haven't got a clue you need to go and see your doctor. So they're going to see their doctor. They've been putting antidepressants, but it's making the situation even worse. These people were suicidal at this stage. So it's like, okay, how are we actually fixing the problem? Because at the end of the day, mental health is such a big thing at the moment, huge thing at the moment. Every second person that I talk to has some sort of issue going on in their life. And as I said, I'm not saying that it's all down to what we're putting into our diet, but it's a damn good start.
Yeah. And you mentioned chronic fatigue syndrome, Faith, and that you have clients with it. Are you familiar with Dr. Sarah Myhill?
Yeah.
We're going to have her as a guest next week.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
we're very
She's
excited
awesome.
to. Her specialty is chronic fatigue syndrome. Yes, she's wonderful. She's really amazing. And she treats it with diet,
Yeah.
primarily with diet, with her groundhog basic procedures.
You mentioned as well, Faith, at the beginning that you're fainting an awful lot. Talk me through that. What was going on there?
It would just come out of nowhere. I would suddenly start, like, I would all of a sudden start to feel dizzy, and then I hardly had any time at all, and I'd be like down on the floor. I was just gone. And even after the fainting stopped, the dizziness was still there for a long time, you know. So that, I think, was a combination of the thyroid stuff and the heart stuff, because I had a heart arrhythmia and a heart valve prolapse, so a physical condition that they found there. And I think there was just, you know, there was the wrong amount of pressure going through there, and that was causing problems with, you know, my balance and things like that. But as I said, eating this way has healed that physical malfunction, or whatever you want to call it. It's gone. Even that's gone, you know.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And many times, was this happening daily, on a weekly basis? How often was it happening?
At the beginning, it happened quite frequently, I guess weekly or something, you know, something
And
like
do you think this was down because you were malnourished? You weren't getting the right nutrients?
I think it's a combination of everything, that those nutrients were obviously, the lack of those nutrients were creating those health problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think my body had finally run out of all of its reserves. It had finally run out. Even the ones I'm putting in supplement forms and stuff, they'd all, it was gone. I wasn't getting amino acids. I wasn't. There was so many things that my body wouldn't have had anymore,
Wow.
and so it wasn't able to repair either. It was, I was malnourished, was starving myself, was poisoning myself with huge amounts of oxalates and things. And, I had these physical health conditions because of the starving myself as well. So I think it was just a combination of loads of things, and my body had held it together for so long. And then eventually it's like, we're done.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You've not been listening to us. But this is it now. This is the final straw. We're making you listen.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy because anything we think about when it comes to the heart, we automatically think straight away heart disease. Okay, no cholesterol. We can't eat fat because this is what's actually going to lead to heart disease. But it's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean?
crazy.
It's insane, isn't it? It really is. Because like I know if you ask anybody on the street nowadays, like when they think if you ask them a question about the heart disease, automatically they'll say straight away saturated fat.
Yeah,
Stay
cholesterol.
away from it. Don't go near it. Cholesterol.
Yeah.
That's what's going to cause the damage here.
But
But
that's what's
in
healed.
your yeah, it's like well,
Yeah.
when we talk about saturated fat and we look at the science and we look at the research, and they're telling us all the time that I mean Ansel Keys was known for this, but when you deep dive into the research, there's no evidence at all on its own that fat was the problem ever.
Yeah. No, there's a great book by Natasha Campbell McBride, who's the GAPS lady, and she's got quite a lot of good books, but there's one particularly just on the heart, and it really just rips apart all of the nonsense we've been told, and why they're basically doing it to push statins and things like that, and it makes so much sense, and it's only a small book, so if anybody at all is got any concerns about cholesterol and the heart and fats and things like that, I really recommend it. It really just kind of lays all those doubts to rest.
So why do you feel doctors are going in this direction? Because any doctor that I speak to, and we've had a few, the one thing that always comes up is LDL.
Yeah.
And we only had what was his name, Victoria? Malcolm Kendrick. We had Dr. Malcolm
That's
Kendrick,
Malcolm
and
Kendrick.
he's been doing this now for well over 20 years. He talked everything about cholesterol when we had him on. But yeah, we've had doctors on in the past as well, and they're always focusing on LDL, always. And when we look at the LDL as a model, it's not even cholesterol. It has nothing to do with cholesterol. And they're absolutely focused on this. And I had this conversation with a doctor about 2 years ago, and I just asked him the simple question: do you know what cholesterol is? And he said there's good and bad. The minute he said that to me, I was like, okay, we are in serious trouble here. If you don't understand there's only one cholesterol, then how is there any hope for people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that it's not bad.
Yeah, and then when you look at what's going on in the world at the moment, heart disease is probably still the number one killer in the world at the moment, and every single one of us are on a low-fat diet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
how can you explain that to me?
And statins are the number
they're the
one
answer.
selling medication in the whole world, and that's why.
Yeah. And then when we look at people, sorry for interrupting, when we look at people that are in a similar age group, like 50s, 60s, and 70s, the first thing that usually goes is their memory. Their memory usually goes. You know what I mean? They're either type 3 diabetic, dementia, all that kind of stuff. We have Hal Kramer. What's his name, Victoria?
Hal Cramner. Hal Cramner.
Yeah, he actually looks after the elderly at the moment, and he
has
he
4
has
nursing homes.
nursing homes, and he has everybody eating the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's incredible, absolutely incredible. And I've been to a few nursing homes. I mean, my parents-in-laws were came from a nursing home. And when I see what they were actually feeding these people, it drives me crazy, because we lost these people like 2 years ago to cancer. And when I seen these people in the nursing home, because I knew what I knew now, I was getting really, really angry. Really, really angry. I was like, okay, where's the proper help for these people? Like, these people were deteriorating in front of my face, in front of my eyes. And I'm seeing this with all families. And it's absolutely cruel that we're letting these
Yeah.
people suffer
It's
very, very
upside down.
slowly.
It's
Oh,
wrong.
it's so wrong. It really is. And then you walk outside, you're seeing these people, they're walking around like zombies. They're in wheelchairs, they're walking around walking sticks, and it's just like they're the same age as myself. And I'm like surely this can't be right. This can't be right. Why are we not giving these people the right information? Why do we need to push these people towards a statin? Give me a reason why they need to be on a statin. Give me a reason why these people need to be on a low fat diet. Give me one reason.
All about money.
And they can never give you
Yes,
the reason why. And
it is. No,
that's the biggest frustration that we have at the moment, is that what we were told about fat and cholesterol has been the biggest myth in the last, say, 100 years.
It was pushed by Big Sugar, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
and it worked really
Yes.
well. But even though all that research, those papers have been released quite some time ago, I guess because a lot of doctors don't continue with their training, or don't keep up with these things, they still believe what they were taught back then, and I don't even realize that the stuff they were taught has been proven to not be correct.
Yes. Yes, there's research that countermands all that, and they just ignore it. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. And Big Pharma has taken a big hand in it. And now the big food industries, the industrial food industries, and also big agriculture.
Yeah.
It's a huge barrier to getting the right information through.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, these companies have been in business now for over 200 years now. Pfizer,
Sure.
200 years now. Name one disease they've cured. Just one.
Yeah.
Not one.
No, but they're making a lot of money out of it, aren't they?
Lots
Yes,
of
they
money.
are. They really are.
Trillions, absolutely trillions. And then we look at what's going on now in the world with Bill Gates now. He's trying to push this veganism agenda. He's trying to eliminate, we were talking about this at the beginning, like with the animals, and he's trying to eliminate all this and add more bovine to our cattle. It's just,
And
it's
synthetic
scary.
food.
It really is. I put a video of this, like friend of ours, Tony, he was actually speaking about this. I put it on my social media earlier, and he done a big rant about it. And it's just, when you actually dial it down and you really listen to what these people are saying, it's honestly, if he gets his way, we're in serious trouble.
For sure.
I mean, I'll be doing the same as you. I don't own a farm, but I'll be going into the mountains, and if I have to kill my own food, so be it. That's how desperate things will get. Because it's just, and when you were doing plant-based, Faith, was it all just like the local crops, or were you eating any plant-based food? Were you on a plant-based diet, or was it just like just vegetables?
No, I mean, I was shipping stuff in from all over the world, thinking it was, better for myself and the environment than eating what was near me, any animals that were near me or anything like that, which is also mental, shipping in things from weird and wacky places because they're supposed to be high in some vitamin or mineral. So, I was eating a lot of stuff that wasn't seasonal, wasn't local, so that's also has an impact on our health, our own microbiome, and the health of the planet. And then I was eating a lot of the same stuff every day as well, which is also not how we would have eaten. So sweet potatoes most days, and celery juices, and some weird and wacky powder from, I don't know, the Amazon somewhere or something. Just when I think back of it, I'm like, it's the most removed from how we would have eaten that you can possibly be. You know, there was nothing
Yeah.
local, nothing seasonal, nothing primal, you know, nothing ancestral about
Mhm.
it.
Mm.
Wow.
And what
Well, what do you
sorry,
think? Sorry,
go ahead. Sorry, Victoria, go ahead.
wanted to ask what your diet looks like now. What
Mm.
choices you're making these days?
Mainly beef, and lamb. That's the main meats that I eat. Occasionally, I might eat some goat or some fish. I especially oily fish if I'm to eat fish usually. My own pasture raised eggs. I I have ducks and geese as well, so you know I have a choice of eggs usually. Um, um, Herbs. I do eat herbs, salt, spices, that kind of thing, and that's about it really. I don't
Mhm.
I might have dairy once every few months or so. Doesn't
Yeah.
really agree with me.
Mhm.
So
Even the raw local dairy or your own dairy. You mentioned your sheep
if I like I said a little bit here and there that one of the issues with me is I'm a bit all or nothing. So I like it a lot. So then I want to eat a lot of
I
it.
can relate. Yes.
And sometimes that can snowball other things as well because you know there's a sweetness to it.
Yes.
So then
Yeah.
I find myself starting to search for sweeter foods again. You know, so
Mhm.
for me, a little bit here and there is fine. And I actually think that's more how we would have eaten it naturally. You know, we wouldn't have taken too much dairy from the animals when they were feeding their babies, and we wouldn't have had dairy in the winter when they didn't have babies. So I think
Mhm.
we probably were eating, you know, dairy, but we were eating it more seasonally. And the same with
Yeah.
eggs. I think that's why a lot of people have problems with eggs is one, because it's what the chickens are fed on, and how they're homed, you know, and housed a lot of the time. But also, we weren't designed to eat, you know, 20 eggs every day just because they're really good for us. You know, we would have had
Yeah.
breaks in eating eggs because there wouldn't have been any more birds otherwise.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yes.
even with the whole carnivore thing, I think there is trying to be a bit more kind of with the seasons and the cycles of life again.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's where some people come stuck with it, is they're like, oh, now I can't eat this and now I can't eat that and I've cut out more foods and I'm like, yeah, because you're eating huge amounts of something every day that we never would have. You know, even though it's really nutrient dense, you know we would have eaten maybe all lamb for a week or two, you know, because they would
Mhm.
have slaughtered a couple of lambs or something, or all beef, or you know, and then we would have eaten it all, you know, the organs, all the gristle, all you know, the
Yes.
brain, everything, and then we might not have eaten that food again for a bit, you know, or we might
Mhm.
have been fasting, not choosing to fast, but fasting because there wasn't anything for a bit, or you know, in the summer we may have eaten, if we couldn't find anything else, some fruits, but they were not the fruits that are around now. You know, and
Mhm.
that's the difference. As people say, yes, we would have eaten this, you know, if there'd been the food there, we would have eaten it for sure. We would have, but that food that was available back then is not the same as the food that is
Nowhere
available
near.
now.
I mean, you look at
Oh no,
you look
no,
at a piece of
not the
fruit
same.
now compared to say 500 years ago. The difference is unbelievable.
Even 50 years ago.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely insane. They're a lot smaller. Same with the vegetables. They're a lot smaller, whereas now they're like big thing. I mean, you look at a strawberry now. It's about that thick. It's huge,
Yeah,
like huge bit of strawberry,
and
and
really,
then
really
you
sweet.
really sweet, yeah. And the same with your plant, like your vegetables. Like you'll never convince me that my vegetables need to be put in a plastic bag. What's wrong with just digging a vegetable out of the ground? What happened to like the vegetables in the past where there was all dirt all over it?
Yeah,
Where's that
Mhm.
gone?
yeah.
It's all
People,
synthesized now. Everything is in packets now.
yeah. Yeah, dirt's bad
And
It
for us though,
plastic.
isn't it?
yeah
That's what they keep
yeah
Yeah.
telling us.
It's absolutely. And then what you said as well, like it's the season as well. Like now
Yeah.
you cannot tell me that an avocado probably in the summer that's nice and ripe, and then you get an avocado in November and it's like a rock, are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way. So it's like, hang on a second, you need to be going back and looking at this and saying, well, this is what's going on here. So I want to be respectful of your time, Faith, but I have a few more questions to ask. First of all, you've been carnivore how long now?
I'm not sure exactly, because I've been experimenting, with different ways of eating I've been animal based for 4 years, but true carnivore about a year, I guess,
And you feel in that year you've fully healed. You've looked after all the symptoms that you used to deal with in the past. You feel like at this stage in your life now, I'm good now.
Yeah, the only thing I'm still dealing with is oxalate dumping, but it's minute compared to where it was at the beginning. The oxalate dumping was really intense for me, because I was now I look back and I can see I was consuming, I think actually close to about 2,000 micrograms. Yeah, that's the right measurement. Micrograms of oxalates a day, and you're only meant to have like something like 100 or something. Because all the superfoods are almost all oxalate, high oxalate offenders.
Yes.
So I was consuming huge amounts of this, thinking I was being like mega healthy vegan person. So that's taken time to get a handle on that. And it's still there, but it's not very noticeable. But what the oxalate dumping did, it started a whole histamine thing happening as well.
Oh,
So I
boy.
had to
Oh, dear.
work with histamine and then the fat adaptation and the oxalate. So as I said a little bit earlier, I think this is an important thing to actually say to people, is because some people, particularly if they've been plant-based, they switch to this way of eating and then they think it's bad for them because they start feeling worse. They might feel good initially, but then the oxalate dumping starts, the histamine issues, and they start to feel worse, and they're like, oh, but carnivore made me feel so ill. And I'm like, it's not the carnivore that's made you feel ill, it's the years of poisoning prior to it.
Yes.
If anything, carnivore's trying to fix it.
Yeah.
That's the point with the superfoods, is they're a mega dose of the oxalates that you're missing if you slow down your intake of them.
Yeah.
So it just brings it right up again, kicks it right back up.
Yeah. So that's taken time, and I've had to be patient with myself. So, I was, when it first started happening, going through this cycle of oxalate dumping every few days. And then that moved to every few weeks. And now it's probably about every month to 6 weeks or something. And it's nowhere near as intense. It was pretty awful to start with. But in between, I feel like Superwoman. So that's great. But, when the oxalate dumping happens, it just reminds me of why I'm doing this, that I was literally poisoning and starving myself before, and I had no idea, that this is what this is what healthy food, what you think is healthy food, is actually doing to us. So yeah, there is that transition, and I do recommend, with clients of mine and stuff, they go, I'm just going to go carnivore tomorrow, and I'm like, no, please don't.
Yeah.
No.
Please
too
just,
soon, too sudden.
transition slowly.
That was going to be one of my questions. If someone was listening right now, would you advise just jump straight into it, like head deep, or would you do it in phases?
I would do it in phases. I mean, it's great if they're that passionate, and obviously when you feel really terrible, and I know how that feels, and I'm sure both of you do too, is you're desperate, and they're like, I just want to feel like you, or I just want to feel like the other people I'm watching videos about online. And I'm like, you will, but please don't do it overnight. Because
it's a process.
The more of a health freak you were, the harder the transition is likely to be.
Yes.
So, if you were just eating junk food, it might not be too bad. you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you were already thinking you were being a really, fantastic person to yourself with your food, then it's likely to be quite intense. So just take it easy, listen to your body. Definitely cut out the carbs though, because, even if you don't cut out all the oxalates to start with and things, it's definitely cut out the carbs, because that addiction to the carbohydrates
Yeah.
is going to
Yeah.
wreck everything else.
That's why I like doing the phases part, because when you explain to them that if you explain to someone you take them on carbohydrates are the problem, straight away they're thinking it's not the carbohydrates. But I like getting information. The more information I get, then I know they're going the right direction. So I'm just saying I'll eliminate the processed food at the very, very beginning. And then I'm waiting for feedback. They're saying to me, yeah, I'm going the right direction, but I still have these issues. I'm still suffering with my mental health, depression. I'm like, okay, well, let's eliminate the carbohydrates. Let's just take them all out and let's see what happens. Again, getting feedback. We're going the right direction. They're about 50% there, but they're still having their gut issues. And I'm like, at this stage, what about if we just eliminate the vegetables and the fruits and just let's see just what happens. Let's just see what happens. They do it for a couple of weeks. Bingo. Straight away, they're like, oh my God, now I can see the difference. So they're getting back to me and they went through the transition. They understand why they had to do it at this pace. Because I know if I had went back to say 6 years ago and I was working with yourself, Faith, and you said to me, you're coming from the carb lifestyle and you're gonna transition to this lifestyle straight away. In my mind, just looking at a piece of steak on a plate, I'm like, no, this is not going to work for me. I'd be thinking about what about all the food that I used to eat, the variety of food. What about my vegetables? Like I want to understand why I'm eating this way. You can't just turn around and tell me that this diet is amazing. Yeah, that's great, but I need to do this for myself. I need to see the whole transition
Yeah.
before I understand why I'm actually on this diet now for the rest of my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's extremely important. It's the same like if you're dealing with an alcoholic, you're never going to turn around and say to an alcoholic, "Stop drinking alcohol." Like it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You have to give them time. And when we look at the healing process, and there's loads of detoxes out there at the moment, this is the one thing that I can't emphasize enough to people, that when you do transition to the carnivore diet, you should be doing this for the rest of your life. And if you had an addiction to carbohydrates, or you had all these issues in your life, it's not going to happen overnight. If you've abused your body for over 20 years, it's probably going to take the same amount of time for your body to heal. Barclay says this all the time, that 20 years of torture could be 20 years of healing. It just depends on the person.
Yes.
And I think for me
And
as well,
yeah,
because I've been doing this now 5 years now, and I can tell you right now, my body is still healing.
Yeah.
100%.
still healing. That's the point.
Definitely.
It's still
Definitely.
going on. And that's the story that my husband and I have of how our cataracts disappeared. We are seventh year carnivores. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we were diagnosed with cataracts, and then the cataracts went away.
Mm.
And this is all on carnivore. It really is.
Mm.
Consistency. You get to the transition period, but you need to maintain. You
Mm.
really do. The ketosis is the key. That does.
It's
100%.
been the same with me in these last few years. Is about halfway through, I started perimenopause, and I was like, well, it's normal now for women in their 40s to be going through this, but I don't think it should be normal. It should
No.
be in the
No.
50s and
Too soon.
60s.
Yeah.
So that was another push for me to consume more animal protein. So I had been eating quite a bit then, but not a large amount with every meal. So from when that happened, I started eating more animal protein in each meal than anything else. And within 3 months, completely gone away, not showing on the blood test, no, big flushes,
Lovely. Wow.
no hormonal rage,
Fantastic.
just gone. And I assume at some
Excellent.
point it will come back when it's meant to, at the right age, and won't be so intense.
And that's a good point as well,
Yes,
because
yes.
like that's a very, very good point, especially with women, because I work with an awful lot of women, and I'm always saying to them, like, listen, because they're coming from that background of low calorie, low fat, they're just overtraining, they're doing too much. And I'm like, listen, you might look amazing, but eventually this is going to catch up on you. This is going to catch up on your hormones are going to be out of whack. Your chances of conceiving later in life are going to be limited. You know what I mean? So why would you risk all that just to look a certain way? Like, it's just crazy. It really is. Like, we're and then same with the menopause as well. Like, I have no issues with women taking a little bit of HRT, but if you're relying on it and your diet's crap, that's where I have the issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, Faith, it's been an absolute pleasure
support.
having you on. I'm sure your story will reach, I'm hoping that it will reach a lot of people. Before I let you go, if there's any vegan watching this right now and they're saying, like, I could never do that. There's no way in hell am I ever going to go on a meat-based diet because of what we've spoken about. What would you say to these people without being not too aggressive, but you know what I mean?
I would go down, just invite yourself to spend a little bit of time going down a few rabbit holes about that, just to check if the beliefs you have are based on truth or not. There is a fantastic book called The Vegetarian Myth by Leah Keith. She was 20 years vegan and an environmental activist. And she also realized that the myth of it all, and she speaks very passionately, still loves animals very much, still is an environmentalist, but is now armed with the correct information instead of this vegan propaganda that is designed to make us weaker and more compliant little robots for them upstairs.
Where can people go to find you, Faith?
I hang out on Instagram and YouTube mainly. I have a website, faithcanter.com, where you can link up to my Instagram and YouTube and things. I have a newish Instagram, plant-based to animal-based, and an old one, just Faith Canter. But they're my main hangouts.
Amazing.
Okay.
Anything else you want to finish off with, Victoria?
No, that's what was it. I wanted to find out how people could reach her.
I have a book coming out soon called The Thriving Guide that actually covers a lot of this stuff, and that'll be out next month. And I am working on another one called The Ancestral Reset.
Amazing.
But don't buy any of my earlier books because they're all plant-based. And I'm pulling them off the shelves.
All right, the Thriving Guide is up this coming month in
And
December.
what's in the pipeline, Faith? Is it going to be all coaching? Are you going to be an author? What's going to go on? What's going on?
Well, I'm doing the same as what I've done for the last few years. Workshops, mentoring, coaching, that kind of thing, or writing books, but with the emphasis of animal-based instead of plant-based, and why I got it wrong, and how my clients now, the change in them is within days, if not weeks. There's massive changes in them, whereas before it would take months. And still, it wasn't the same as what the shifts in people now. The shifts in people now, it's across the board. It's they're de-aging, they're healing old problems. They might come with IBS, but all sorts of other things just get mopped up along the way as well. So now I feel very passionate about helping people that have been plant-based to come around to living in a much more natural way, and not just with food. We fuel ourselves in so many other ways, good light, grounding, air, those sorts of things as well. And I think that's really important that we encompass all of that, because it's not, we often talk in the carnivore community about food. Obviously it's the carnivore community, but we sometimes forget the other things that are equally as important, that we are animals and we need good light, good earth, good water, good air as well. They're just as important. So my aim is just to keep sharing that information, and hoping that helps somebody somewhere along the line.
Amazing. Well,
That's wonderful.
we'll put those links below, and when the book comes out,
Yes.
probably we'll get you back on as well. And I'll probably
Fantastic.
get you on
Yes,
my other
yes.
podcast as well to publicize it. So when is that next month, is it?
It should be at the end of this month, but I'm just waiting for confirmation of this, that it's all formatted correctly, because the last it was meant to be last month, but the last two proofs were all over the place. So I think it should be at the end of this month, but I would say probably like the 5th of December or something, I'll release it, if
Very
everything's
good.
okay.
We'll watch for it, definitely.
We'll look forward to that coming out. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Well, Faith, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me on. It's been great talking to you both.
And we'll speak to you
That's
very,
great.
very soon.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.